Good day, Bob here at Welding Rust, and a few of you guys were asking about some of the tools I've been using, particularly, I'll show you. I like to call this the mini tucker, and let's see, oh yeah, one of the cutoff wheels I was using and some modifications I had to do to make this work. And I'm going to throw in how to make slots when you haven't got a milling machine. Let's get into it. Let's start with this guy. What we have here is a, guys probably recognize this is a bolt cutter, okay, but it's been modified. And what I did was I used some 3/16 material and a little triangle and just weld on each side of it. And the principle being is if we can get it to hold, we can do that. And what this does is it provides a tuck, but a very small one. If you want bigger ones, there's things called tucking forks. I haven't made one yet, haven't had a use for it yet, but they're relatively slim. There's a few more videos on how to do that. But as you can see, what it does is it tucks the material, you bang the corner in, and then you flatten it, and it shrinks the material. I think you might have seen me use this on other videos. Hence the question as to what this thing was and how it works. Now, if you're going to build your own, this is one of the things where you can experiment. I would recommend not as much triangle, give it a little higher there. Give it more material there, because if it's wrong, you can always grind it back off again. And what that would do is it would actually put more material in here. So, anyways, that's it for that one. So next on our list, we have this modified Power Fist. I'm sure you guys in the States have got things like Harbor Freight to find this up. This was from Princess Auto up here in Canada. And how this has been modified, I'm going to show you. Loosen this off first. Oh, by the way, originally it would take these little discs, only about 3-inch in diameter, as well would fit. And what these discs are, you see a whole stack of these. These are worn ones that came off my other 4.5-inch, but once they get down too far, they're almost useless. So normally you throw them away. Not me, because I throw nothing away. Because I always find a use for stuff. And what I did, modify this. Let me show you. This was originally a cutoff, a slug from a hole saw. And all it is now is it's a washer. Now this sucker may not come out that, there we go. The modification I made was this is a very close fit. And actually you have to have a lathe to do this, because good luck doing this with a hacksaw and a grinder. Is basically turned a shoulder that is thinner than the blade, obviously. And inside is a bore, a counter bore, where this thing is kind of a light press onto the shank. And you can see where it locates on, because originally that hole in there has a spigot, and that spigot would fit that. But now that it's been modified for this, I've got all kinds of free discs to use now. However, here's the trade-off. Now, one of the things that's on the agenda of things to do is make a bigger guard for it, because I'm used to running things without a guard. It's not always the best practice not to have a guard on. But what I would have to do is cut this and basically do some sheet metal work and make this a whole lot bigger to fit one of the bigger discs. Because as you can see, that's not going to fit so good. So, on the agenda of things to do, but in the meantime, because I'm in a rush and I want to get working on things, this is what we got. But the nice thing is it's really, really handy for getting in stuff. If you've seen my other videos, you've seen me use this a lot because it is so handy. There. But here's the drawback, and to keep watch out for, this wheel is bigger than this. You drop it on the ground, zing. That's not going to be fun. So if you're going to make this, watch it. Now, one of the projects I recently had to start on was actually not a car or wheel project, but a home rental project. And honestly, I wasn't sure if it was going to be worthwhile for filming until I came across a little problem I had to find a solution to. what I have to do is make a bunch of these things. And what you'll notice is we've got slots in them. And you may notice in the background of some of the videos, I have a milling machine, but it's broke right now, which means I got no mill. So my challenge is, how do I make little slots in here? A couple ways to do it. And I've done this before a multitude of times. I drill 2 holes and I file out the section in between. But I figure I got a bunch of them to do, and that's way too much like work. This 17/64, it's a 64th bigger than 1/4 of an inch. And what I've done to modify it is I've cut it off and I kept it nice and short. Always keeps tools short as possible. And I ground it so it's flat, not perfectly flat. You'll notice there's an angle this way and an angle this way. The other one, because a nice broken 1/4 inch drill this time. And we're going to sharpen it just like a regular drill, but now we got a nice short stubby drill. And if I use a nice short stubby drill, I don't have to worry about center drilling because I know it's not going to wander so much. So I will go and grind that thing and we'll get back to you. All right, I hope you can see this. Because we have such a wide web, I've ground clearance in here, so my chisel point is more of a cutting edge. I've done this a few times, so I know it's going to work. But that's what we want. Nice short drill. So hopefully it ain't going to wander too much when we go and cut. Let's say I want to drill 1 hole there to start with. All right. And the trick now is to make sure when I put my next hole in, as long as I got space in between. Cutting half a hole does not work. Yeah, close. Now, let's change tools. Yeah, I'll point out here, one of the important things is the vise itself has to be bolted down securely. Make sure everything's good and tight on this one. This is where the eyeballs come in. Because what we want to do is be at about in the center of where the lumps are. Yeah. This vise has to be tight. Oh, very, very slow. You don't want this thing grabbing. Now you got to remember with this, it is not center cutting. So it's not going to like it when it's like this. But you go slow enough, you can melt through anything. Here's our test. Because you can see it is not going to be absolutely perfect. You want to make it perfect, that's what files are for. However, does a 1/4 inch bolt go through it? Ew. Not quite. It's close. Again, 2 ways you can do this. You can go back over it again and get out some of the lumps, or run a file through it. But that was the whole idea, is not running a file through it. The other cheat you can do is, I went a 64th. If this was a 32nd bigger, yeah, I would take, you could leave the lumps in and a 1/4 inch bolt would fit nice and fine and dandy. But The other thing we can point out, we can try, is while I'm here doing my experimentation and you get to come along for the ride, see, all I'm doing now is I'm actually standing beside here while I'm operating this lever and this lever and just moving in a bit and down. See, once I got most of the material out, I can feed a little faster without hurting anything. I think you get the idea. Yeah, don't get your fingers caught in there like I showed you to do. Don't do that. And now, even on a milling machine, quite often if I want to do slots, I will use the nibble method as opposed to trying to mill, because I've broken too many end mills that way, usually because I'm using old machines. Now, I decided I'm going to make this slot a little bit longer. Put the feet down. With the tool I showed you, you can get away with this. Just nibble a bit off, but don't take heavy cuts. There's not that great amount of rigidity in a drill press. See this one? I've got about a 32nd, maybe 40 thou. It's almost too heavy of a cut. So do you keep this in mind? You can't get away with heavy cuts. All right, let's check it again. See? There we go. Job done. I'd like to show you another little part of the project. I got a bunch of these made up, and you saw these before, a bunch of them. And they need to be joined together with this. The trick is this has to be here, that's got to be at 45, and I figure how am I going to hold all this, especially a whole bunch of them. So admittedly, this is a bit of a, oh yes, I can use that phrase now, Mickey Mouse fixture without any worry about copyright anymore. But what I ended up doing is, quite often guys will, you can make fixtures by tacking them together, but I've only got like 6 parts to do. So it's really not worth it for that. But what I did find is by using blocks and clamps, I can make my own little fixture. So the idea being, what's important is where this ends up in relation to this. So I've got a stop this way, a stop this way to hold it down. And the part sits on here. The part I locate by the edge of the table. And I've got this other little stop. This piece in here is a bit thicker than this, so now I have a stop on here. So all I do is I hang on to it, put 2 tacks on it, take these 2 clamps off, take the part away, onto the next. But I think one of the tricks on this one is trying to measure and make sure this, I used a ruler, squared, to make sure this point is going to be correct with this. And that is centered, square, that sort of thing. But yeah, you can pretty much make any fixture just by using blocks and clamps. Well, that's it for this one. Feel free to comment. I do like to read the comments. Some of them are rather humorous, Papa 5, and I certainly appreciate them. Even some of the negative ones can spur me on to try and fix mistakes. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Bye for now.